Usually we have a crossover Thursday, but there is no Eastern Washington podcast here. So I got the next best thing. Joining me today is the head coach of Eastern Washington, Coach Aaron Best.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. Happy Thursday. I'm Brandon Olson. Find me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find my written work with Whole Nine Sports and GiantsCountryofSI.com. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Check out BetOnline. It's where the game starts. And before I'm joined by Eastern Washington's head coach, Aaron Best, just going to say stay safe, everybody. Scary times out there, so wishing the best for you and yours. But now, let's talk football. Joining me now for today's episode of Locked On Gators is a very special guest here. The Florida Gators take on Eastern Washington this now Sunday. And joining me is the head coach of Eastern Washington, Coach Aaron Best. And Coach, just getting right into it. The biggest story around Florida Gators football for almost 2 years now has been Gainesville's very own Anthony Richardson. As an opposing coach, how do you even kind of begin to approach this game with a quarterback who, I mean, if we're being honest, has been erratic at times, but can be a kind of nightmare to play against?
Oh, he's a hell of a football player. And I think the first time, I don't know for a fact, I think for the first time I may have we snuck down to Gainesville, defensive staff and myself, in 2017 in February when Coach McElwain was there, a former Eastern Washington football player in his own right, and visit us. And I think Mr. Richardson was a young high school guy that actually attended a practice that we were actually at in the spring in the indoor facility. So now coming full circle, he's now in pads, wearing the Florida Gator colors and playing. He's playing well, and he's hard to contain. He could do multiple things, and those are the scariest quarterbacks out there that can beat with your feet, beat with your mind, and beat with your arm. I mean, it's kind of a if you try to take something away or contain something, then all of a sudden maybe you don't put enough time and energy in something else. And he's got weapons to be able to use. They're committed to doing it differently under Coach Napier. Establishing the run and getting the playmakers the ball in space. High tempo. I met Coach Napier at Colorado State, ironically enough, when he was coaching for Coach McElwain as quarterback coach. I think that was in 2015 at the time, or 16. So there are some things that are in between the line stuff, but he's a hell of a player, a hell of a quarterback, and he's kind of come into his own. He's only getting better week in and week out.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you brought up Billy Napier, so let's talk about that. This is an interesting matchup between you two because you guys were both uh, former FCS, or I guess at the time Division One AA players. You with Eastern Washington, and of course Billy Napier was a quarterback at Furman. What are your thoughts on Billy Napier and his, I mean, again, first quarter of a season as the head coach of the Florida Gators?
Well, I think it extends further back to that, having an opportunity in Fort Collins to kind of witness some of those meetings that he ran. Obviously, his time in Tuscaloosa, he's been around some incredible coaches. I believe he's been at Tempe for a little bit of time at Arizona State. You're in those spots because you're trusted. You know what you're doing. You do it well. And you get recognized for doing it well. And then he goes to Louisiana and does a great job for the 3 or 4 years he was there. Not only put them on the map, but put them on the national scene. And what they did, I loved watching them on Thursday nights when I got home from practice and seeing the up-tempo offense, the excitement of his players that they did have. And a lot of times you take the personality on of your coach. It may take some time. but if done right over time, it will happen. And so he's got a historic career as not only a player, as an assistant, but also as a head coach. And you can't be lucky that long. I mean, it just you're good when you sustain something that long. You're not lucky. You're good at what you do. You do it better than most, and he's done it better than most, and that's why he's in the chair he's in. And it'll be exciting. I was hoping to shake Coach McElwain's hand when we met him, and little did we know that there's going to be two coaches after him after he was no longer the head coach. So things happen. It's a weird business, but Coach Napier does it right, does it well, and does it better than most.
And I mean, you've mentioned now Billy Napier's up-tempo offense a few times. As a coach, how do you kind of prepare for that style where, you can't make these substitutions and you might be on the field a little longer than you'd like to be?
Well, it's hard. No matter who you play, obviously the talent level is off the charts. The team we're going to face on Sunday, because it's an SEC team. It's not a Big Sky team. Let's just get that out there. It's different. Guys are faster. Guys are stronger. Guys are better. It's just different in a lot of ways. But I will say because we play a fast tempo offense, at least there's a little carryover from practice when we're practicing it against ourselves to where it's not such a difference, a pace of play because we are a no huddle up tempo team ourselves. It gives us a better chance in trying to recreate what a no huddle looks like. But it certainly presents issues and problems when you're on a 6 or 8 or 9 play drive on defense and they haven't switched out personnel and the ball hasn't, been out on the sidelines where they hold, the snap to get guys in the game. And so it's that's what they are. That he's always going to lean on what has worked for him, and that's worked for him over the course of time. And that's the fun way of playing football. There's not a ton of communication. You just keep continuing to play. So the fast pace usually takes out the thinking of players, and the product's been good over time. So it's extremely difficult. Really, the only advantage kind of going into it, not the advantage, but the only thing that helps us is we are an up-tempo offense. So our defense sees it, the tempo, maybe not their tempo, but certainly not the playmakers they have and the way they get it done.
Yeah, and about Billy Napier, we've talked about the up-tempo style. He's got that little phrase that has rung through Gainesville of scared money don't make money. And he kind of put his money where his mouth is this past Saturday against Tennessee. They went for it on fourth down 6 times, converted 5 of those. How do you kind of prepare for that where you're not really playing, let's get to third down, let's get a stop, and then we make them punt. Now it's like, okay, well, these guys are willing and able to go for it consistently on fourth down.
Well, I think the scared money don't make money. I mean, that's confidence. That's confidence in your team. That's confidence in yourself. And there's going to be even more confidence playing at home instead of Knoxville. But when you believe in your players and the players know you believe in them, it becomes a 4-down game. It becomes a little bit more meaningful. This game of football has taken on a new face the last 6 or 8 years where analytics play and it's really 4-down football a lot of times when you cross the 50-yard line, but certainly when you're 5 or 6 and fourth down situations with a game that's as big as an SEC game, Tennessee versus Florida. I mean, that's not only saying it, but that's backing it up by doing it. So you got to play 4-down football. There's no downs off, and that makes it hard because now you're trying to get 10 yards and 4 downs, which makes it extremely difficult for the defense because now they got to play another down, but they're still trying to get the same distance on offense. And so it makes it hard. It keeps you guessing, but you're right. It's calculated risk taking at its best, and you want to be smart, but it also instills some believability in your team when you say, no, I believe in you guys, and if you don't get it, I believe in the defense to get a stop or hold them 3 points if we don't get it. So it does a lot for your team, especially when you're successful in those scared money don't make money moments.
I'll tell you, Vegas has made so much money based on my bets this season, specifically because I keep betting Florida Gators to either win if they're underdogs or cover if they're favorites. And they haven't been great at that. They have done it 1 time so far. I've been wrong 3 times. I have no problem admitting that, but I'm still up because of betting on Florida to win that Utah game. So, woohoo! That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making money, and that's what matters for me, really. I've been using BetOnline for years now. It's been 6 years now, which is just insane to me. But it's got so much, not just football, basketball, baseball, soccer, tennis, hockey, table tennis, darts. You can bet on everything. You can bet on politics and presidential races. You could bet on economics and finance. You could bet on award shows, reality TV. There's everything there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn all about the trends and action. Check out BetOnline. It's where the game starts. And Hurricane Ian is coming in. Florida classes have already been canceled through Friday. At the time of recording, right before we started recording, the game officially got pushed to Sunday. Rain's expected to be around. It's going to be messy conditions. How does that impact your game plan? As you mentioned, you guys are an up-tempo offense. You like to throw the ball a lot. How does that kind of impact it if the weather, which again, Florida weather, rains all the time, how does that kind of impact your game plan going into this one?
Well, I think that's advantage Florida. I do because we haven't seen we've seen rain probably 3 times the last 3 months. Now the heat, I mean, it's 87 degrees here yesterday. It's going to be 88 today, so there's going to be some carryover when we get down there. Humidity is different down there than it is up in the Northwest, obviously, but it is going to be different. Playing on grass is different. There's a lot of advantages being the home team already, but then being a home team on a grass surface in your rainy elements, in your humidity elements. There's some things that we're by default not going to be prepared for or as prepared for. But like we do many times in the playoffs, you for our system, we play through December where it snows here. So we try to use that as an advantage. Now we're on the other side of things where how do we not make that as much of a disadvantage going on the road in maybe some inclement type situations of weather. It's tough. It's different. We got to hold serve at home, and so hopefully the track's not too muddy when it's all said and done. I know they manicure that field. I wasn't allowed to get on there in 2017, even with sneakers on. When Coach McElwain brought me in there to walk around, I was told a couple times, grab by my shirt. No, 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 you don't get on this field. You can look at it, but not get a feel for it. So they do it right and they do it well, and we'll see how it comes. But we're all going to play in the same elements. That's what I do know. Y'all may be more acclimated to the elements, but if we scream about the elements, it's not like one team's playing in a different set of circumstances. We're all playing in the same circumstance, so that can't be part of our problem solving going forward. We gotta adjust quicker than them and see how that goes from the opening kickoff.
Yeah, and just stepping away from this game for just a second, we'll get right back to it. But how cool is it to play on the red field? Because for the listeners that don't know, Eastern Washington's field is bright red. It is awesome. How cool is that to have arguably the best field itself in football?
Well, it's really cool, but I would say it's probably way more unique than cool. It got installed in the first round in 2010, and everybody and our athletic director at the time, Bill Chaves, who's now at the University of North Dakota as athletic director, said, "You know what? If they're talking about it, whether it's good or bad, they're still talking about it." And so once it was installed, and half the donation of the $1 million field was by Michael Ruse, a former All-Pro left tackle that I was lucky to have coached in my early tenure as offensive line coach here, a dear friend of mine. When him and Mark Hughes, associate athletic director, put that, I guess, idea in motion and got that done and secured the finances to get that done, it was awesome. It was different. It was unique, and it was talked about. But the most special thing is that year we won the national title on the first year the red turf was installed, and so that turf played out its lifespan. We got new turf in heading into fall of 20, but played on it for the first time in spring of 21. So it has got a makeover. It has got a facelift. It is not the original turf, but it is unique. It is fun. It is a home field advantage for us. We like to protect the red, as we say, on Roos Field, and so it is different, and it's okay to be different. And we cherish the opportunity to play on the red.
Yeah, I feel like you guys had a whole new meaning to red zone, and as horrible as that joke was, I apologize for it already. This weekend, you have the I don't know what to call it, but you have that first ever SEC game for Eastern Washington. This is the first time the Florida Gators get to do that. What went into just setting up this game? How do you kind of prepare for that atmosphere?
Well, I'm not going to say there's any equal setting, but we've played a setting 2 weeks ago in Autzen that was a little loud, one of the louder stadiums that I've been told in the FBS realm. At the FCS level, we played in some loud stadiums in Bozeman, it's Montana State. It's one of the better venues in Missoula, playing the University of Montana. That's a ruckus environment. So it's not going to be like we haven't been exposed to loud environments. I've heard the Swamp is the top, if not the top place when they're rocking and rolling. I'm told or been heard that Tom Petty plays between or the third, fourth, or in the fourth quarter. So there's some traditions that get the fans excited. And coming off a loss against Tennessee, I mean they're eager for a win. We're coming off a loss, tough loss against Montana State. We're eager for a win. Tough environments are kind of add to the game feeling of players playing. The more fans, the more people rooting against you, the more you kind of maybe are invested in the situation or in the game. And so it is awesome. The first time ever Eastern Washington University football has played an SEC opponent. We've been down south a few times playing either playoff games or non-conference games, but never been to an SEC stadium or team. And so it is a first time. So we don't have anything to compare it to necessarily, but there's a few venues that are up there that are uneasy to play in when you're an opposing team. And this will obviously be up there with the other ones we played at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'll be focused on the game. It'll be hard to kind of take it in, but when Won't Back Down plays, you'll see it is an awesome moment to just be there for. And you've mentioned earlier, this is you guys are Big Sky. It's not the SEC. There's different players, talents different there, and a lot of Gators fans and even media are talking about this as like it's a game that they're glossing over essentially. What's the message to your team going into this game where it's just like, is that bulletin board material for you guys?
If bulletin board material motivates you, you're probably in it for the wrong reasons. That's my opinion. No matter who we play, where we play, we're process driven. Results will take care of themselves. I know it's coach cliche to say that, but we've got to focus on ourselves. When you're talking about that, the last time I checked, no matter who you are, they play the games for a reason. The touchdowns are still the same amount of points. Extra points are still the same amount of points. First downs are still 10 yards before you get a new set of chains. The moment can't be too big, even though the moment may feel bigger than maybe last week at home against Montana State. It can never be too big. The basics still play. Blocking, tackling, catching, running, breaking tackles, kicking, precision, timing. I mean, all those things play no matter what level you're at or what level you're playing at or what environment you're playing in. So as simple as that sounds, it's gloss over not. It's that I can't control what we can't control. But if we're putting stuff up on the bulletin board, I mean, I think we're doing it for the wrong reasons. No matter if it's a non-conference game, FBS, FCS, home or away, then we're not teaching the right teachings if all of a sudden we're putting stuff up to motivate our players to go out, because it's a 60-minute game. I mean, it's great to get up for a game, but the game isn't won in the first 5 minutes. The game's won over 60 minutes of execution. And so we've got to do a better job than we have been in the first 3 weeks. We've gotten better, but we've got to have more precision. We don't intend to play perfect. I don't know what the definition of perfect is, but we've got to play as close to flawless as we can play to give ourselves a chance in any game, but especially a game like this.
And the Gators have two players on the defensive side of the ball that are very talented up front, specifically in Gervon, Dexter, and Brenton Cox Jr. And I know you're an offensive line guy. How do you kind of game plan around neutralizing the both of them, if that's even possible?
I mean, it's much like watching SportsCenter growing up. you can't stop them. You only hope to contain them a little bit. I mean, they're going to do what they do. We've got to mix obviously pass, run, play action, screen, RPO. We've got to do a good job to do as much as we can to keep the entire defense off balance or kind of guessing, somewhat guessing. And it all starts on first down. Their production on first down, no matter what game it is, allows the playbook to be more open on second down when you're 2nd and 6 or less, as opposed to 2nd and 8 or 9 and more. So we've got to stay out of obvious pass situations, because I think that's where they kind of pin their ears back. Any team, but especially two guys that can get home to the quarterback, and you can't just do it with one offensive tackle or one tight end or one running back. We've got to mix things up and maybe hope they're off their game Sunday. Maybe they move the game a day later, so maybe they're off the game and their circadian rhythm is not what it usually is on Saturdays at home. A little luck would help us. I'll always take any amount of luck anybody gives us in any situation. I just you've got to identify great players. They're great players. I don't know if you neutralize them. I think as much as we can to not allow them to put together a season-long highlight reel in one game is something we'd like to stay away from. But we got to do that by being, keeping people off balance and playing, like I said, as flawless and as close to Eastern Washington football that we can play, and kind of see where things go from there.
And I mean, you just mentioned putting together a season long highlight reel, and Hendon Hooker kind of did that against the Florida Gators this past Saturday, had multiple big plays, and Florida throughout the season has kind of struggled with giving up those big plays. Is that something where you can kind of look at that game, specifically the Tennessee one, and is there enough time to maybe see, okay, Tennessee did this and got a big play from it? Can we kind of implement that into our offense, or is there just not enough turnaround for that?
I mean, it's different. It's SEC versus SEC. Concepts are concepts. Teams. SEC splits wide receivers out. They get in the max splits and they try to, spread people out. That's their name of the game. Ideas are ideas. It's nice to say, hey, I like this concept, or I like this idea, or I like this red zone package or play. But then we ask each other every week, no matter who we play, do we have that formation? Do we have that personnel? Are we ever going to be in that situation? Does that really fit us? How much are we doing that's not really us? And then if you're not really doing stuff that you normally do, then your players naturally, if they're committed to the process, are saying, why are we doing stuff that is out of our character? So there are some things that we run similar to everybody in the country, but I would then challenge ourselves. How well do we run it? When do we run it? How good is our protection when we do run it? How is our blocking when we do hand it off? There's a lot of variables. And I love those Sunday and Monday quarterbacks that'll tell you what it's like and how you should do it. No one tries to be bad. Everybody tries to be good, and everybody tries to do it the right way. But there's a lot to a simple run play or a simple pass play or a simple screen play. That's why it's a team game. It's a consummate team game. 11 guys got to do it right to give yourself a better chance. And so we look at the film, but we got to find out what we do best against what they do as their base, and see if we can, just kind of chip away a little bit. Hanging on the football is number one priority. Not giving the football up is the number one priority, regardless of punts. If we give them possessions because we turn the ball over via interception or fumble, that hurts any team, and especially when you're on the road against any outfit that it's almost like putting yourself down 14 points before you even step into the arena to play a football game, and then all of a sudden you give the ball up unnecessarily. Those things are the ones that really bury you at some point throughout the game. So no, it doesn't provide us more information than we need, but any information we'll take. They have played 4 games, 4 tough games in my anticipation, and good teams have to have tough moments, and they've had tough moments. They got a win versus South Florida late in the game, missed a field goal. I mean, those tough times create tough teams, and Florida's trying to create that. We're trying to create that. We've been in tough moments in our 3 games, 2 of the 3 games in particular, and so it may not go your way, but those moments you can reach back and learn from, and as long as you're willing to learn, you always have a better chance.
And you were the offensive coordinator at Eastern Washington in the early-ish 2010s is when he took over. 2012, I believe, is the exact year that Cooper Kupp was there. And some people might know a little bit about him. So what is it like to kind of have a player where multiple times today you've been like, yeah, this is Big Sky football, it's not SEC players. Big Sky football has arguably one of the most productive players at his position in NFL history. Just what's that mean to kind of be his coach at a certain point?
Well, the one thing I will always say, and I've always said with Cooper, um, very under recruited out of high school, which a lot of our guys are, especially here. I can only speak for Eastern Washington University, but they have a chip on their shoulder, and they want to prove something to somebody or somebody's that maybe someone missed on. Uh, he is the consummate guy where in games, what you see on Sundays is what he did on Tuesdays in the middle of practice, in Skelly, in team run, in 2 minute situations. He's the same guy. He never changed in a phone booth. He was always the same guy, and always played at the same speed. So I say this all the time, especially when scouts came in and asked about Cooper when he was coming out here, is what's he like? I said, well, he's 4.6 in practice, but he's also 4.6 in games. He's not 4.3. Sometimes in games, and then 4.8 other times games. You know what you're going to get, and it's about as consistent, more consistent than any player I've ever been, or any person for that matter that I've been around when the lights are on, and whether the lights are on or off, whether it's Tuesday, Friday, or Saturday, whether it's FBS, FCS, he was always counted on because of his sheer consistency. His studying of the game is unmatched. I mean, he's looking at film 6 years ago and one-on-ones from the time where he was 9 years old and watching guys that came before him at Eastern. He consumes information, and he's using that information in some capacity. And so he is a student of this game, whether it be high school, college, or pro, and that's made him who he is. And we applaud him for representing the Eagle as well as he did while he was here, and carried that on to the NFL. And I've been asked, are you surprised? Absolutely not. You know what you're going to get when you drafted Cooper Kupp, and he's always done it at a high clip, and he's earned everything that he's garnered as far as accomplishments and accolades, and winning the Super Bowl was I mean, just absolutely phenomenal. Having been on the short end of a Super Bowl game, and then all of a sudden been on the correct side of the Super Bowl game. I mean, it's kind of who he is. You know what I'm saying? Kept grinding, kept doing, and he's about as personable as it gets. He's feet on the ground, eyes forward, and I couldn't be more prouder of Cooper and what he's accomplished.
And there's just one more question before I let you go. Again, thank you so much for your time here. And you played for Eastern Washington. You were a center and long snapper for Eastern Washington. And then you've spent, I believe it's 22 seasons now on the staff with 1 year off to coach in Canada. And now you've been the head coach for 6 years. Just what does that mean to you to kind of grow up with Eastern Washington as a young man and then just remain the head coach now?
Well, the Paul Wolf, who's the offensive line coach out of high school, recruited me, and I'm forever indebted to him identifying me as a guy that gave me an opportunity, and really my only FCS opportunity at the time. I came here to go to school first and play football second. I never wanted to coach down to college football in my life. I wanted to be a high school teacher and coach. And so Coach Wolf gave me the opportunity to do that here at Eastern. I like I said, a lot of people say you got to write it down for it to happen. I'm not a firm believer that good work and notable and notice good work and hard work always will pay off. Maybe not in the time frame you wanted to, but I fell in love with the college game. It's hard. It's really hard. People are special here at Eastern. I'm here for a reason. I met my wife. We have 3 kids here that I'm forever thankful for, and a lot of that is due to Paul Wolf giving me an opportunity. And really, it was a small opportunity. I was not a full scholarship kid out of high school. I try to earn everything in life that I've ever obtained, and that's the old lineman's kind of mentality. It's we're the only people in sports play back to the football. So nobody in sports has their eyes away from the action other than the offensive line. So we just sometimes think a little different, speak a little different, act a little different, but they're counted on. They're the most trusted people in any sport at any level because they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do for other guys to get to do what they get to do. And so I've tried to take that approach as an offensive line coach, as a head coach, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So you don't have to dream it to be it, because I never dreamed to be a head football coach, but I'm forever humbled for the opportunity to lead 105 guys and, 20 or 25 coach / support staff members. And it's tough because decisions have to be made day in and day out, week in and week out, hell, hour in and hour out based on, the situation we just got presented this morning with certain things, and people are relying on you. And so we're trying to instill that in our players to continue to be leaders, even though they're not agreed by or upon with all parties. As long as you believe in that somebody, it may not be what you agree with, but if we support 100%, we have a better chance. And so I've spent a lot of time here. I don't know if I'm doing it the right way, but I'm doing it in a way I was raised by a lot of coaches and teachers to do it. And as long as you put in hard work, you got a better chance. And so I've just tried to make tweaks along the way, but very grateful for the opportunity to be in this position that I never, like I said, dreamed of or wanted. I wasn't chasing anything. I lived day by day and try to take everything in, and very, very humbled to be able to do what I do with the people I do it with.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach. This was Coach Aaron Best, the head coach of the Eastern Washington Eagles. And best of luck now Sunday. Best of
You
luck
don't mean that. You don't mean that. I know you don't mean that.
I have be safe. Can I say
Yes, I'm good with that.
that?
I'm good with that. But I'll take the luck too if we get it.
Be safe, and thank you so much, Coach.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow as we're talking more Florida Gators versus Eastern Washington. We'll preview this game a bit more. Saturday, we've got John Garcia, Sports Illustrated's Director of Football Recruiting and Locked On's Recruiting Insider, joining me. Sunday, we're going live after the game, so we've got a ton of content. And if you want more content, check out Locked On SEC, hosted by Chris Gordy of Sports 790. Get the best coverage on the best conference, including the best university, the University of Florida. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Nine Sports, WHOLENINE Sports, and Giants Country of SI.com. And I'll see you all tomorrow.